School may finish, but learning doesn't. Life will continue to test you, no matter what age you are. And for that, you need a strong mindset to make the struggle with life work with you and not against you. This podcast is dedicated to using old head wisdom to explore what it means to be mentally strong, what it means to be successful, and how to get between tough times. We are Ricky and Keith Tillman. Thank you for watching today. Let's get into today's topic. Well, first I want to introduce you. We're talking with Dr. Erica Kelly Sykes, who's an educator, a coach, a mentor, and a counselor, amongst other things. You advocate healing and growth, self-growth. So how did you come up with this concept of, you're also an author who wrote a book called Broken Gems, and we're going to talk about that today. And where did this inspiration come from?
Wow. So when I first got sick, I was working on my doctorate, and I was having a lot of issues with just coping with life. So I needed to direct my thoughts to something more worthy, I'll say. And I have a son. And then I have a bonus son. So, everyone knows Trey. And I was like, well, what can I do to be an inspiration to my son? I mean, he's an NFL player, but he's still my son. I still want to be a lasting impact in his life. Like, what can I do? So I was working on my dissertation, and my dissertation was about generational curses, which is real wild. And so I did a lot of research on how things enter into families and stuff like that. So going forward, I said, well, let me write a book. I can write a book, my own book, because the university is going to own my dissertation for a little while. So I started to write this book because I think there are a lot of challenges that men face that are swept under the rug. Instead of talking down on our men, I wanted to be a voice for them. I wanted my son to know that there are women who support you. There are women who understand. You have a mother that understands, whatever it is. And, we all make bad decisions in life. And if we trust God and stay the course, we'll bounce back. So I wanted him to know that regardless of what went on in his life or what goes on in his life, that if you keep God first and you just stay the course, then it will be fine. It's okay for you to cry. It's okay for you to hurt. Because honestly, Ricky, if we don't make it okay for guys to express themselves, and when I say we, I mean women, if we don't make it okay for men to express themselves, how would they know how to treat us? How, if you're never able to feel sadness, how can you comfort your wife? How can you comfort children? Like, if that's never been made okay to you, how can you know how to respond to it when someone else is feeling it around you? And then on the flip side of that, how will people know how to respond to you when you're mad, when you're sad, when you're lost, when you're physically hurt? Because I know, and you know where we come from. And the bottom, shoot, boy, you don't cry. You a boy, you better not cry. You know, that's not completely right. You know,
I agree.
and, and this world has conditioned guys to be okay with pain. So then, if that's what you are okay with, guess what you deal? You deal in pain. You hurt people unintentionally because that's where you operate at. You know, so that's what inspired me to write this book. I wanted to be a voice for you guys. I wanted to be a voice in Trey's head, in Dalen's head, and anybody else who called me mom or auntie or cousin or daughter, to let them know, look, these emotions are normal. This is absolutely okay. Now our response is not gonna be based on what we feel. Yes, we feel this, but we're gonna respond based on the facts. We're gonna stick with the facts. Why are you hurting? Because so and so did this to me. Okay, well, let's talk about that. And then if we can address the issue of what the person done to you, then we could probably come up with a solution. And then what happens to that hurt, that pain? It'll go away. You learn how to deal with it.
Yeah.
But you need to feel it. You need to know that this is a normal thing. If I get stabbed in my heart, I'm gonna bleed. If you get stabbed in your heart, you're gonna bleed. So why can't we experience the same level of pain if the injury inflicts the same level of pain? The
Right.
same circumstances arise from it. Why is this not okay? Well, it is okay. It is okay. But I go even further back to my grandmother and my grandfather, and cousin none. Like life was so different. Life was hard. So they had to be hard to make it, to sustain. Like we don't live that life anymore.
Yeah.
We need those values. We need those work ethics. We need all that, yes. But our lives are different.
Yeah. I find in my mind the way I think now is communication is the key. Um, when I was at home, I was wanting to share with my niece about how we raise our children. Back in our day, when children were raised, they was taught to shut up and mind and stand in the corner, be quiet.
Mm-hmm.
What I've learned is one of the keys. If you want your child to grow up to be successful in life, I think that one of the keys of surviving in life is communication. If we have,
Absolutely.
right, so we can't communicate, it's hard to survive in the world. But one of the keys to success is good communication. So when you teach
Right.
a child to be quiet, don't stand in the corner, get out of adults' conversation, you're slowing, in my opinion, you're slowing in the developmental part of their brain to be able to articulate and communicate later on in life. So it's one of those things I say, young mothers and fathers, don't take that same philosophy of the old days, learn to allow your kids to express themselves respectfully, but also
Mm-hmm.
allow them to communicate, because they grow to be better communicators in life when they start and it starts in the home. It's just something I like to share with my family, because this is the way what we were taught. Mind your business. Get out of adults' conversation. Don't don't speak when adults are speaking. So you sort of hindering their growth, their development. How do you feel about that?
So I agree with you. And then on the flip side of it, I would say, yeah, yeah, I agree with you. Like allow them to have a voice, allow them to articulate when it's necessary. So, and I say that because of the world we do live in, specifically men, boys, you have to know when you need to be quiet. There does arrive a time when you shouldn't say anything other than let me call my mother or let me call my father.
Mm-hmm. Oh yes, the best form of
And respect.
communication is listening.
Yes.
Listening. Yeah.
Yeah. You have
Observe.
to yes, you have to know when the time is absolutely okay. When, for example, if you are having a conversation with, say, myself and my 8-year-old niece is there, there's no reason for her to jump in our conversation because she can't possibly know what we're talking about.
Right.
Now, if you and I are having a conversation and your son, your oldest son, your son chimes in, there's a possibility he may be able to add some insight to our conversation. So
Right.
yes, I agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
I agree that children should know when they should speak and when they should not.
Mm.
Now I would tell you with Trey, he wasn't allowed to interject with grown people like that
Mm-hmm.
because Trey's been big his entire life. And I just didn't want him to become comfortable with saying certain things to certain people when there may be a time, and there was a time in his life where he had to go, please call my mom, you know? And you know what I'm talking about? Like, you, the children just have to know, parents just have to be very clear on the expectations. And I think because we're not clear on expectations as parents, that's where confusion happens.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So that's just my take on it. And it's crazy. They get the view from a father and they get the view from a mother on this one.
Right.
So I
Right.
mean, I don't know the right or wrong answer. I just think it's based on your parenting type.
Yeah. Okay. So we were talking about adversity, some of your adversities who you having to come overcome with your health issue.
Mhm.
I want to go a little bit more into that.
Well, you know the word adversity. I will use that um and share what I told my basketball team the game before we played our first playoff game. So the last regular season game, the pregame speech was about being a doormat, right? So a doormat has one job, well, two jobs, to lie on the floor and to let people walk all over it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in life, when adversity is piling on top of you, either you're going to become a doormat and you're going to lie there and let adversity walk all over you, or you're going to put on your big boy shoes and big girl shoes and you're going to say, whatever I got to face, I'm going to put God in the front and I'm going through this. And when I get out on the other side, I'm going to have a story to tell that's going to bless somebody's life, because sometimes we don't go through stuff because of us. We go through stuff to be testimonies for other people. Like, this is true.
Exactly.
And so I think about adversity. I think about just getting through something. Get through something, you know? And you just, I tell everybody, I'm a workhorse and I always have been. Like I said, you know where I'm from. We from the same place. And one thing we know to do is grind. Well, when you grind, you can just grind or you can grind like it means something.
Mm-hmm.
So if it means something to you, that grind gonna be different. I don't live my life going through motions. Everything I do, you're gonna get 100% out of me. So I tell people, when you're thinking about adversities of life, just know that everyone has them. No one is protected from adversity. It's gonna happen. Everybody's adversity story may not be the same, but something's gonna happen unique to your life and your situation that you have to get through. And if you never go through anything, Ricky, how you got a testimony? You don't have a testimony if you never go through anything.
That's right. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
we can get caught up in, my lights got cut off, or I don't have food, or man, how am I gonna get to school? My car broke down. Look, I'm gonna tell you, you got to figure out a way.
Mm.
Because there is a way. That way, maybe asking somebody. That way, maybe getting a second job. That way, there is a way.
So
Don't get
how
caught
do
up.
you condition your mind to do that? I mean, how do you condition your mind when you going through struggles to find the positives in the face of adversity?
So I'm gonna tell you, I was 8 years old when Big Jack had his first heart attack. I was in the garden with him, and man, that garden used to be like a field. And it was just me and my granddaddy. He was plowing, tiddling the ground and stuff. And I was dropping the seeds. And he fell. And he had a heart attack on me, bro. Like, I was like, oh my God, Grandpa, my dad done died. And he was having a heart attack, and all he could say was, just go get help. Go get somebody. So of course I ran, got my big mama. Well, he went to the hospital, and when I went to see him in the hospital, because I made them take me, y'all gonna take me to see him, or I'm about to show out. Well, when
Uh,
I got there, he told me I had to go finish dropping the seeds and covering the seeds. And I
wow.
was like, you worried about some seeds, and I'm worried about you.
All
And
right.
he said, well, we have to eat. I've already had the heart attack.
Hmm. Wow. Okay.
So what they did for my life was say, you already got to go through it. So what else needs to be done?
Mm.
This is already happening in your life. So while you're here yet living, what jobs do you need to finish? So in the face of adversity, I suggest you just face adversity.
Mm. Yeah. What else can you do? Quickest point from point A to point B is straight ahead. Mm.
Straight ahead.
Mm.
We tend to get derailed when stuff is not perfect.
Yeah.
And if you're any kind of person, you're not gonna have a picture perfect life. So instead of getting derailed, going off course, stay the course. It's something brilliant on the other side.
Mm. Fantastic. Yeah. Now, going back to the basketball part, you're in high school basketball coach, and I'm sure you're instilling all your values that you stand for into your team. I got the opportunity when I was home to stand in front of a group of basketball players, and I look at basketball, any sport, as a tool or what we use to learn the game of life. All
Hmm.
all the attitude, the approaches, the preparation, the mentality, the being able to push hard when you need to push hard, and just everything pretty much you can learn by being in sports. So I was passing this information on to the guys about you're here now. You're gonna everything you're learning right here in front of your coach, you're gonna take with you for the rest of your life. All the players that you play with, you're gonna remember them for your entire life. All
Hmm.
the way you approach the game is gonna be similar to the way you approach life as you.
Absolutely.
So it's and it's just amazing how the game of basketball, any game, is very similar to the game of life. You use the same things in the game of life as you do in any game. So you were able to raise a young man to get to the top of the food chain, to the
Yeah.
pinnacle of NFL star. Being a single mother, can you tell the audience what that's like or what you had to go through and what kind of plans and challenges that you and Trey had to go through to get to from where you started to where you finished?
So I'll tell you three things. So number one, we kept God first. God was in Trey for a long time. And does that mean Trey was perfect? Absolutely not. Does that mean Erica was perfect? Absolutely not. Number one, keep God first. Number two, be willing to make sacrifices. And number three, stay committed.
Mm, mm,
That's what it was. If you say you're gonna do it, do that. Trey knew that I was a single mom. There was times in his life where I had to work 2 and 3 jobs. Trey knew that I couldn't afford to pay a babysitter, a daycare, and us live a certain type of life. Trey knew he had to go to school and get his schoolwork done and not cause problems. Trey knew he could not miss practice. He knew he had to go work. Trey understood that if he wanted to change his life and break generational curses for our family, that he had to be committed and he had to make sacrifices as well.
mm,
We moved a lot when we were in Atlanta or Florida or anywhere we stayed, South Carolina, and stuff wasn't going well, or I could have been somewhere else and stuff was going better. If I got an opportunity, I say, Trey, let's go. So I never forget it. Trey was 13 years old. He said to me one day, we were sitting in the car in front of our townhouse in South Carolina. He said, Mama, I can't take it anymore. We was living in South Carolina, going through a lot. And this is what you mean by letting your kids have a voice, because if my son didn't trust me, he would never have expressed this to me. You know, I feel like self-harm is a real thing. Like some South Carolina coaches was weighing real heavy on my son's head. I won't say it's hard because what he was dealing with had nothing to do with God, you know, but needless to say, he trusts me enough to say to me, Mom, I just can't take it here anymore. He's 13. I said, well, Trey, what do you mean? He said, well, okay, what can I do to make this better? I was a teacher there too. And he said, Mama, if you move me to Texas, we will never move again. Just take me to Texas, Mama.
Mm.
I said, Texas? He said, yes, ma'am. Take me to Texas. We'll never move again. Not only did Trey hold true to that, Trey came out here and he was a phenomenal high school football player, high school wrestler. Whatever he touched, it was blessed. And God made sure of it. Trey put in the work. God let the blessings unfold.
Mm-hmm.
I became sick, Trey, last year of college. And I became deathly sick, Trey, last year of college. I had to have a surgery that cost about $92,000. And he said, well, Mom, if money gonna keep you alive, I'm gone. And I said, no, Trey, you told me you'll graduate. He said, Mama, I will not bury you because of no money. I'm gone. So it was nothing I could say to keep him in school because I would have done the same thing for Alan. My mama could have told the same thing, and Mama gone. If it's money that's gonna keep you alive, let me go get it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and he did that. But not only did he do that, he bought me a home. You know, there was a period in mine and Trey life where we were homeless. You know, and I say that because we were so far from our family, I couldn't even get to him. And then it's too ashamed to tell anybody.
Mm.
You know, so as a single mom, well, for all the single moms and for the single fathers, because there are some of those too now,
Mm-hmm.
I would tell you, keep God first. Be willing to make sacrifices and just stay the course. Don't get so caught up in everything that's going wrong. Figure out a way.
Mm.
Figure out a way and execute the plan you come up with.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying. You brought up basketball, and I'm a very hard basketball coach. And you can ask any kid that I've ever coached, from Mississippi to Florida to South Carolina to Georgia, shoot, anywhere
Mm.
in Texas, they will tell you I'm a very demanding coach. I take pride in that. I've never coached a kid that didn't go to college for free that wanted to. And that says a lot to me about me and the coaching staff that I'm a part of. But I would tell you, I always tell them, whatever you do, don't cut corners. If you start doing it as a child, it'll pour over into adulthood.
Mm.
Just get it the hard way. It means more. Get it the hard way. It'll mean more.
That's right.
You know, we don't just quick gratification.
Mm.
Just get it the hard way.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my thing. And that's what I would tell single parents.
Mm. Yeah.
You know, when you make the decision, your parent, just do that.
It's an amazing thing to witness that, because I came in on the tail end of it. You know, I missed all the hardship, and I saw the victory. But I know it had to be a lot of hardship to go through that process. And you mentioned what pops out in me: the trust that Trey had in you, but also the trust you had in him to pack up the bag, leave your job, and move to a whole nother state. Probably didn't know much about Texas or had any really networking connections like you should have. But you went there and you made it happen. You developed that. So everything was a growth, and growth period. So how can you explain that to someone who's starting out? As far as when you start out at something, you're not going to be that same person, or you can't be the same person at the end as when you started out. Can you
You can.
give us some insight on the growth that you and Trey went through?
You mentioned my book, and it's a part in my book that talks about the budding phase, how you develop from a seed to
Mm.
this beautiful flower, right? And man, I just, I just, I would just tell people to know that what's going on, whatever it is that's going on in your life, is pruning you for you to become a better version of what God created you to be. And the process may not be pretty. It may not even taste sweet to the lips. But
Mm.
just know when you come on the other side, you're going to be so much better. And so you're going to be equipped with so much more to be a blessing to this life, to other people. I just, wow. Just this move to Texas alone grew me as a person, as a woman, as a mom, as a professional. Had I in Texas, it wasn't just a blessing for trade. Had I not moved to Texas, I probably would not be Dr. Erica Kelly Sykes. I probably would not have my doctorate.
Mm.
I probably would not have a master's of education,
Mm.
a master's of arts in teaching, bachelor's of psychology. I probably would not. I definitely know I wouldn't have 6 degrees, and I do.
Wow, that's awesome. Oh, so that brings up
I
another
just,
thought. A lot of people think what you going listening to what you're saying. Your struggles is part of your story, and some of the time, the harder the struggle, the bigger the story, the better the story. And and a lot of people feel like, why is this happening to me? A lot of time,
wow,
things ain't happening to you; it's happening for you. I believe in that.
I believe in that. I live by that. You know, my mom, I called my mom one day and she attest to this. I called her, I was crying. And I think she thought I was suicidal, Lord, but I was just crying. I'm not really a crier. I was pouring it on her. I think it got a little heavy for her. And I was like, well, you know what? At the end of our conversation, after she prayed my head off, I said, well, you know what, Mama, why not me? I'm built for it.
Mm.
Why not me? I said, I know God got me, and He has never brought me to something that He didn't take me completely through. So why not me? When we got off the phone, my life was just real different then. Like my approach to what I was dealing with, to these doctor's appointments, averaging 5 to 10 seizures a day, suffering memory loss, like just all type of stuff. And then I don't know, just why not me? That's all I can say. I would tell people, you're not being punished. You're being pruned. And people don't understand the pruning process. And when you get to a point in your life where you can understand what it means to be pruned, you can face whatever adversity is coming your way.
Mm.
Because He's setting you up for your day, for your blessings, and your day is for you, and your blessings are for you and nobody else.
Mm. Right. Self awareness, self discovery. That's why I hear a lot from you. You know, you're very self aware. Were you born that way, or is something you developed over time? You think, and how important it is to be self aware.
I think that it's very important to be self-aware, because how can you identify things you need to change about yourself? Only you can be honest with you. Like it's easy for a person to pour sugar water down my back and call it rain, but they have to be honest with their own self to even make any changes or adjustments. And being that none of us are perfect, we all have room to grow. We all have room to change. And then in that changing, you got to be able to learn to ask people for forgiveness. And you have to be able to forgive people.
Mm.
I think that was one of the hardest things for me because I felt like I'd done so much for people in my life. And at times in my life, I was like, dang, why can't I call anybody? But it was people that I could call, but the people that I could call were having tough times too, you know? But then I said, God need me to go through this. Like he needs to see how I'm gonna respond. Or if I'm just gonna let him fix it. And going through all that, I learned to take my hands off of it. Cause I wasn't doing nothing but messing it up anyway.
Right.
It really made my faith deeper. Me being aware, self-aware of who I am. And I just tell people, you got to know who you are and you got to be honest with yourself.
Mm.
You know, we got people out here, like I said, I told my girls, don't cut corners. We got guys out here and girls out here that want to take it the short way. Well, if you take the short way, the benefit won't be as great. And if it is, it won't last as long.
Right.
So as a person, to understand that.
Mm. Yeah, that's very important to understand that taking a shortcut is is not a shortcut in life. There's no shortcuts you can take and still win. So if it's
Right,
hard, one of my things I like to say, if it's hard, then do it hard. Or you always do more in a job. I'm talking in a job, you do more than what they pay you for. Or some people might say, "No, I'm only gonna do what they pay me." But
right,
my philosophy is do more than what they pay you for because you're building your value. Because your greatest gift is not what you get; it's what you become. Like you
ex-
being a mother, being an auntie, being a family member. That's your gift to not what you can give someone other than giving yourself. So I always believe in looking deep inside yourself and keep developing who you are as a person and being self-aware. That's why I asked you that question. It's
yeah,
very important for the youth to understand that there's no shortcuts that you're going to take and be successful in life. There's no way of taking short corners and think you're going to be happy and content with that effort.
right.
So, but if you do it hard, if it has to be hard, then do it hard. You're gonna get more out of it. Like if you work hard on your job, you earn your money. Your money earns. It feels you you sort of protect that a lot more than someone who just giving it. You just giving away free stuff. So I look at it that way. So what's next for you? Where you off to next?
So I'm actually in about 10 days getting ready to take my national board certification so that I'll be able to be a national accredited counselor so that I can counsel in every state in the US. So in about 10 days, I'm doing that. So pray for me. Put a
Oh,
little small one up for me. I get that.
yes.
Then I'm going to open my own business. Yes. I already have a nonprofit and two other businesses, but I want to do this counseling thing. I
Awesome.
think this is my niche in life. So
Definitely. I think you got everything it takes to be a great counselor. Where can we find your book?
on Amazon.
Amazon. I know I got
Uh-huh.
mine on Amazon, and
Thank
I live in
you.
Australia, so and I've read it, and I'm gonna read it again, and because I really appreciate your focus on the men, and I think a lot of men need to read this sort of information. Give them that. It gives them that. I don't say go ahead. It gives them that okay to be almost like it's okay to be human. It's okay to be flawed. It's okay to be vulnerable, but
Yeah.
you can learn that we all human and we can all improve in life. We can always come from a broken gem to a nice shiny gem, as you say.
And my book sort of reminds me of my husband. It makes me think about my husband. He'll kill me if he knew I was talking about him, but I gotta say this.
Mm.
So he's supposed to be this tough guy, right? But with me, he's like a little delicate flower. Like he's okay with being vulnerable with me. And I thank God for giving me the best part of that man. And when I was at the worst place in my life, he was right there. And man, nothing can beat him.
Mm.
No amount of no nothing. So yeah, my book reminds me of him coming from a struggle and navigating his way through where he is in his life. So,
Mm.
and I love him.
Yeah. Well, that's a special man, especially someone who can allow himself to be his true, genuine self with his wife or partner. So I commend him on that, and I say, well done as a man, one man to another, because I had a good example as well with my dad on how a man can act, or how a man can feel and be vulnerable and still be a strong individual, because he was a pillar of the community, but he's also a family guy who treated his kids delicately, his wife delicately, and so and didn't have a problem with crying. And so some
Yeah,
men think there's a problem with crying. I'm not that type of man. I believe you're a stronger man if you're able to let yourself go like that. So, but yeah, it's a great read. So, all the best with your book, and can't wait for the next one.
absolutely.
All right, so you're listening to Old Head Podcast with Dr. Erica Kelly Sykes and Ricky Tillman. If you like what you're listening to, hit the subscribe button and like and share. Thank you.